All right, so we're going to make the retro TV, and this video is going to be a little bit long. It's going to be in four parts. The first part, we're going to model the television, and the second part, we're going to UV the television, and the third part, we're going to make the texture and apply it. That is the longest part of it for some reason. And then the fourth part, we're going to bring it into Unreal. It's a really neat TV that I wish I had gotten off of eBay. It's still on there, a bunch of them now and again. It's from the 70s, one of the earliest televisions. Philco made some of the earliest televisions, if not the first. I'm not sure. And it's about 800 bucks. So it's not like the TV that my son Rowan here has. Can you show that television that you have to these nice people? Yeah, over here. Yeah, right over there. There you go. That's a tiny TV, isn't it? Can you talk about that TV?
It's very tiny.
Yeah. And what can you do with it? Can you change the channels? That's pretty cool. All right.
You can get the channels
Yeah.
and turn it on or off.
Very nice.
And then change the different
Change
sound.
the volume.
Yeah.
Good. All right, let's get on with the show. And can you say bye-bye to these nice people?
Bye-bye, students. This show is going to be starting very soon.
There we go. Okay, so we're going to make a television. This is an old school television. This is the second version of how I make this retro television. It's not really a hard surface modeling. I did label it that on the first one, but the reason I'm making this one is because I found a much better way of making the television, and I think it makes for a nice, much more smooth looking object. It still is going to be pretty low polygon, which is also why it doesn't really necessarily make it hard surface, because that's usually pretty high poly. So this is the TV. It's a CRT, and it's really cute. I keep meaning to get one of these guys because I still have them on eBay. 13 channels, and U was UHF, and then it had all these guys was the UHF knob. Ford made this television. I think the Ford Philco, I think, was like one of the first televisions. I don't know the whole history of it, but it's pretty small actually. It deceptively kind of looks a little larger. This is a good example of what it looks like. The front has a much better look on the front. Oh, there we go. So that one as well. There we go. So we're not going to do anything fancy on it. We're just going to do the dials and these two dials and these two dials. And but the thing that we're going to do that's important about this is understanding how to make something mildly organic and still be kind of exacting. There's a lot of stuff that you'll pick up by doing this exercise. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make some image planes. And you don't always have to make image planes if you're doing an object. However, if you're kind of new to modeling stuff, making image planes can be a real benefit because it helps to provide perspective, good perspective, so that the object looks real and believable. And sometimes it's also just good to have it so you can get as close to as possible, provided that you have image planes that will suffice for the image, as a reference. So we cannot use image planes in the perspective view because it kind of ties it closely to the whole background. So we need to do image planes in one of the isometric views. So we're going to do front view first, and we'll go to view, and then we'll go to image plane, import image, and the front view, let's see which one we'll choose. I think I think this is a good front view. We'll do this one. Also keep in mind that we're going to do it as close as possible to this, but there is some variation in it because it's a camera, and some of the angles will be a little bit off. So don't model it necessarily exactly off of this or anything else. Just remember that if there's perspective from a camera point of view. So there's the front. Then we're going to do the left side. And let's just move that out of the way. View. And I may put the images are from I got off of eBay. I could if anybody's watching this on the internet that's not going to SUNY Canton, I'll see if I can put it up on GitHub or something. All right. So this is the side view. Left to that one's good. This one's I think the best one, even though it doesn't have the base to it. And then we want a top view. Oops. Import image, top. I think that's the best. All right. So go into perspective view. Now you can see when you do it in perspective view that all of the image planes are as an object and with the correct ratio. Sometimes this happens. I'm not sure why. The image plane will show up really far away. So you can. I just clicked on it and held down X and then snapped it to the middle. Sometimes you can't actually select the image plane in the viewport and you have to actually select it from the outliner. Sometimes it's also good to change the names of these guys. So I'll do image plane left. And this is image plane top. This is image plane front. And then let's save it. And we'll save this as retro TV 2626 2 because that's a different one. Now what we need to do is we need to get these guys as close to the same size as we can. So we can grab this one and just move it so it's intersecting, and then we're going to scale it uniformly. You don't want to scale it in one axis because it won't be uniform. And then we'll bring this in here. When I'm doing character modeling, I often have students work in 3 views. We don't really need to work in 3 views here. So we'll just stick with that. Now the other thing too is that when we're in character modeling, I do tend to create a test object. We're going to start with a cube anyways. And I want to make sure that our object is visible. So obviously, because I can't see the object through the image plane, I have to move the image plane on the other side. So front view, now I can see it. Also, I want wireframe unshaded. All the stuff is setting this up, by the way. And then let's look at the top. Oh, good, we can see it. Then look on the left side. We can't. So I'll go back to perspective and I'll move the left side over here. And let's see left side. Now we can see it. Excellent. Okay, so let's get started with this thing. First, gotta save it. So the way I did it before was I selected all the faces and then I did a smooth. However, I realized that we could use subdiv surfaces on this. So I'm gonna get a soda. I'll be right back. All right, back. All right, so we're in subdivs, and some of you might be new to subdivs. It's an algorithm for smoothing things out. It's kind of like pseudo NURBS. NURBS are a way, mathematical form of like lofting from one shape to another so that it's very, very smooth. I have never modeled in NURBS, so I really don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but that's what it looks like to me. There are some packages out there that just, as far as I know, are just all NURBS. Like I think Rhino is all NURBS. Anyways, subdivs are very handy. We can go between subdiv mode and regular poly mode. And subdivs are for essentially like hard surface modeling, but there's destructive forms of creasing and non-destructive forms of creasing. We can do non-destructive forms of creasing in order to get faces creased the way we want them to look. So, for instance, I'm going to select these faces here. By the way, remember, 3 will go into subdiv mode, 1 is regular poly mode. I'm in...
Daddy,
one sec. All right. My son, my 5-year-old son, had to give me a cookie. All right, I don't know where we were. I think 3, I was saying 3 is subdivs, 1 is regular polys. So, watch what happens when I crease this. So, I hold down Shift, hold down the right mouse button, I go down to Crease Tool. It says Select Components to Crease and hold down middle mouse button. So now I hold the middle mouse button and I move it off to the right. And look at how it now makes that larger. What it's actually done is it has made that crease very hard. So now we have kind of almost like a fingertip. And you can see that this is very handy for making this television set. So I want to see what it looks like from the front. We're getting pretty close. Oops, I don't want to do that because I just moved only one part of it. I'll move the whole thing. And I'm going to scale that up. Scale this out like that. Press 4, and then we can also see a little bit more what we're looking at. Go back to perspective. And then I can look at it from the left view. Press 4. And I'm not going to put it at an angle just yet, but I'm going to get a little closer to what I want. So I scaled that out. Now, also notice that it has these rounded edges over here. So I'm going to select these edges, and I'm going to have another crease. So I'll look at the front view, Shift, right mouse button, Crease Tool, and that did not do at all what I wanted it to do. I'm going to try that again. Oh, that's interesting. There. Then I'm going to go back into object mode, scale this guy down. All right. So now we have that a little bit more rounded. Now the other thing that you'll notice is that if I press 4 and I go into the top view, and then 5, that also we don't have, this is a little bit squarish. So to fix that, we're going to do a third crease. And for that, I click here, I click there, and select both of those guys, Shift, right mouse button, crease, And I'll hold the middle mouse button down and I move it off to the right just a little. So now we can see we have a really, really good start for this. Now the other thing too that you'll notice is that there's a nice curve here. So the television set does have a very slight curve on the front of it. It has more of a curve on the top of it and less of one underneath it. But like a lot of things, when we're modeling something, we're going to do a bit of an interpretive thing and just simplify it a little bit. This one shows a very excessive curve on the top, which I think is more exaggerated by the camera. All right. So in order to get this guy, we'll look at it from the top. And I'm going to do multi-cut, Control-Shift-X. Hold down Control and Shift while I'm doing this, and click once. Now you notice it also modified these angles over here, so we do want to make sure that those don't look too squarish. And I think what I'll do there is edge mode, grab these two guys, and pull them in a little bit. And I'll go back to top view. Pull them in, pull this down. No. I think I'll go into vert mode and select all of them. There we go. That's better. Move it out a little. Alright. Now, we got that set. I'll select this guy, move that down a little here. I'll select these, that one, shift select this one, and move these back just a little. Move this one here, down a little there. Alright. Now we're getting a really nice curve on that front. But you'll also notice that it's a little bit on the, it doesn't have a nice bump on the top. There is a bit of a roundedness on the top. So for that, I'm going to grab these guys here. So I grabbed two, this one and this one here. And I'm going to move that up a little. I'm going to move this down a little. And the reason I'm going outside of it is because I think I'm going to have to scale everything in just a tiny bit. Also, you can see that there's a bit of a, there should be a little bit of a rounded side as well. So maybe I'll try this also. Oh, wait, actually, I don't know if that's a good idea because I think that might make the sides a little bit too, yeah. That might be all right. Let's see what happens. I can always go backward. Almost always. So I did a multi-cut there too, and then I pulled these guys out a little. Yeah, that doesn't look bad. Although I think that the back got still a little bit more squarish than it needed to be. So I did a multi-cut around the this axis as well. Now I'm going to go in select vert mode and select just the top, and then look at it from the top view, and then I'm going to scale that in just a little. Maybe move it down a little. There we go. Now I press 5 and I check that out, and that looks lovely. But you'll also notice that if we look at it from the side, that it kind of goes up a little over there. So before I get to that, That's a big change. I save as often as I can. I will increment and save sometimes. And I think what I'll do here is I'll actually do the increment and save because I'm doing something different. I'll also do what's called keeping it live. Draplin, a graphic artist, does this. He says, what does he say? Vectors are free and verts are free, essentially. So sometimes it's good to keep a backup object, and so I just clone that off in the distance, and I'm going to look at this here, press 4, and I'm going to move this guy around and see what we got. So I can see that the back is not as round as I'd like it to be just yet. So I may go in there and scale that down just a little, squish it. Notice also how this axis right here is going along with the axis of the object. That can be changed if you go and double click on one of these guys over here, one of these tools. You can change the axis orientation. But in this case, it's really good to have that so that the scaling can be accurate. But it could have been world, and you can see it's just straight up and down. Component calculates it depending on what elements you have selected. But we want object here. So I'm going to look at it from the side. I think I'm going to try to bring this up a little and bring this down a little, and then I'm going to try to bring this out a little and bring this out a little. All this stuff is going to help to give it a different kind of a curve, because they I don't know, in the 70s and in the 40s, they were obsessed with making things look aerodynamic. All right. So now if I look at this, we can see, look at that. It's nice. It's got a nice curve. It's at the proper angle. That looks pretty accurate. Let's look at the top again. Yeah, that's good. All right. So once we get this body shape done, we are pretty much good to go in terms of modeling. And it did take us 20 minutes to get to this point, but it's worth it because it's going to look really good. All right, so I like that. I'm going to shift. Oh dear. I'm going to shift clone this guy off in the distance and hide it. Now I'm going to destructively save the this smoothing, so that I can actually go in and modify the object. Because right now it's in subdivs, and if I go and press 1, you can see it looks very different when you're in regular polygon mode. So I'm going to go to spacebar, mesh, smooth, and press 1, and now you can see that I am in that subdiv mode is the same as subdivisions of 2 in smoothing. So I think I'll go to 3. That may be too much, but I don't care. It's all right. It's still pretty low poly. It might be better to do 2. Yeah, let's do 2. Well, I think in class today we did it at 3, but it's still pretty low poly. We'll keep it at this. All right. So we have 2. We'll go over here, object mode. Now I'm going to delete the history. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to select this whole edge, or the whole edge loop. And because it's rotating around the whole front and it's doing this little thing here, it gets a little confused. And then I'm going to undo the crease. I'm not sure that's necessary, but I just want to make sure it doesn't have any effect on it. And then I'll reselect that edge And this time, I'm not creasing it, but I'm doing something that's going to be important for Unreal, and I'm going to make it have hard edges. That's in Mesh Display and Harden Edge. Now you can see that it has a nice hard edge. All right. Save. So now we're going to do the cutting object. The object, the CRT, has a lot of complexity to it. There's a lot of things that we could do in order to get this CRT to look the way we want it to look. You'll notice if we look at it, let's look at it over here. So it's kind of squarish, but it's rounded. It tapers in a little bit. There's a good one. It has a lip, but we're not going to deal with that. Right. So that's a good example right there. Let's start making our cutting object, and this is the one that we're going to do the Boolean with. Let's do increment and save. And so I'm going to go to create a cube. And I'm going to get the shape correct. So here I want to go to front view, press 4, and I'm going to get the shape, the size of the TV correct before I put it into place. So I think it's about like that if we have it do the tapering. All right. Now we're going to bevel it. Don't worry about the size just yet. I'll select these edges. Then we'll go hold down Shift, right mouse button, bevel edge, and hold down Control, and we'll bring down the beveling. Change the segments to 2. I think that's pretty good. There we go. Then we'll go into vert mode. No, let's not go into vert mode just yet. Let's actually put our TV cutting shape in the right spot. So here I'll look in front view, press 4. Okay, press 5. Go back. Let's look at left view. There we go. Okay, so you can see that it has a little bit of an angle going backward. So we want to simulate that angle also. And let's make it a little bit more, a little less deep. So add a little frivolity to it. Hi-yo. There, that looks pretty good. Let's scale it out a little. And then I'm going to go into vert mode. Oops. And I will select the back verts and taper it in just a little bit. There. Object mode. Now, when it tapers in, you can also see that it makes this area a little bit bigger. So we're going to consequently have to make our cutting shape also a little bigger. Not too much. I'll look at it from the front. Oops. There we go. I think it needs to be down a little. There. Okay, So I like that. Let's see what the depth of it's going to be. If I press 4, can't really exactly see the depth so well. I think I may bring it back a little. But I can see it if I'm just moving around. I get a good idea by moving it around. Sometimes you have to just do that. All right. Save. All right, so first, before I'm going to do the Boolean, I'm going to make sure that verts are merged, 0.0005. History is deleted. You can see also here there's a lot of changes here. I haven't talked about this too much, but freezing transformations will zero all this stuff out. So it doesn't change the size, but it does make this like, it's kind of like removing all the modifiers and just baking it down. So there's that. I'm going to merge our verts, delete the history, freeze transforms. You always have to freeze the transforms before you export something into Unreal 2. So I'll select the main object, shift select the cutting object, and go to Mesh, Booleans, Difference A minus B. And that looks pretty good there. All right. It's a little thin over there, but man, it's good enough. And also sometimes the grid can kind of get in the way. So if the grid gets in the way, just turn it off. And then I'll delete history, so that goes away. I'll save it. And now let's make the base, because we are almost done. So for the base, we go to Create, Polygon Primitives, Cylinder. We're going to keep it at 20. And there it is. And I'll look at it in top view. Make sure that it's in the center so that is symmetrical. Then we have to make sure that the object would actually support the TV. So I'll make it larger. Not quite as big as the reference. There we go. That should be good. Make it kind of thin. Bring it down. Now I have to eyeball this one. All right. Then I'll go into edge mode. Double click on this. Bring these guys in just a little bit. And then I'm going to go into face mode. Remember, you have to actually be on the object in order to select those. And then Control E. Offset inside a little, up a little. Control E again. Offset in a little. Thickness. Control E. Offset in. Oops. There we go. Control E. And thickness. Okay, so that needs to be a little bit less thick. All right. So it's not quite rounded enough for me. Double click on that, and we'll scale that in. On that, scale that in. All right, that looks good. Okay, we will end up eventually Booleaning all this stuff together. You don't always have to Boolean everything together into a single object. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. It's kind of a case by case kind of basis. Now let's make some simple dials. Here's our dials. We just need to make one here and one here. So I'm not going to do anything crazy. I'm going to make a cylinder right there, here. Just clone that up there. Rotate this here. Find out what we're rotating it. Good. Hold down J. Rotate it there. Make it less big. Scale it down. Okay, we're going to leave that one there. And now we're going to rotate this to get this in the right spot. And then look at the front view. I'm going to click on this reference image and bring it up so I can see it just a little bit better. And there. Okay. Have a good spot there. All right. I'm going to make a simple dial, because this is pretty much just a low poly kind of thing. And draw these guys. Control E, offset, bring it in. Control E, thickness, bring it out. Other ways that we could have made it more complicated could be to make a little lip around here, but like I said, slippery slope. Set your priorities. Now we'll create another cube. Let's snap it to the end. Right. So I snapped it to the end, and then when I scale it in, it'll be nice right in the middle. And I'll bring it in a little. There we go. Cool. Looks good for low poly stuff. All right. Now we want to select this one in object mode, these two guys, and we're going to combine them. Then this one, we want to bring that one back a little. This one, going to clone it, bring it down so that it's similar to our reference. You'll notice that I'm just going back and forth from one viewport to another. This is the way that I've always worked in 3D, and the way I've seen a lot of other 3D artists work. I don't see a lot of 3D artists constantly working in 4 views, although that's the way that you work in 3ds Max. I used 3ds Max for a while. That's good. I want to move this up. It looks a little bit more natural. There. All right. And we save it. So now, let's start Boolean unioning these together. Booleaning stuff is very, very handy. Some people don't like it, but I think those people are like those that collect phonograph records. I think they're a little on the silly side. There's a lot of good stuff about Booleaning. I'm going to keep these guys on the same plane so you can see that they're similar. I may bring it back a little. So this one, I'm going to select them both. Boolean union. Delete history. Now, instead of Boolean unioning all of these guys, I'm just going to select these guys first. Ooh, I don't like that. And this. And then I'm going to combine these guys. This way, when I Boolean them all together, just do it once. And then I go there, mesh, Boolean, union, history, and there is our TV. Alt H, and now I can see. Oh, there's one thing I want to do first. want to grab this. Oops. I want to rotate it a little. There. All right. Save. There. All right. Have that one. Click on that. Boolean union. Ka-ching. There we go. Now we have all of it modeled. The next steps are to texture and to UV and then create a texture for it. And I'm gonna pause this and get to that next one in just a second. All right, let's get the UVs set up, and then we'll do a texture for this. So it's pretty straightforward. Only thing I'd do, we could do a very slight extrusion. And then soften those edges. Oh wait, that didn't work out right. Darn it. Yeah, soften those, but then we need these guys. There we go, to be hard. There we go, okay. So I just very slightly made a little bit of a dome kind of shape to it. All right, so that. Let's go here. Now, sometimes, and I'm gonna hide all the other stuff by holding down Alt and H, and that does hide everything else. So when you UV stuff, sometimes it's good to start out by just doing a real blanket UV on everything. And that way we can move that off over there, and we've kind of started fresh. So the first thing we'll need is the most obvious, which is this whole outside shape. So I'm just saving, or I'm selecting more than I need, and then removing. And looks like it's all set. And I click normal based. Then I go into edge mode and see everything on this corner. We have this triangle, or not triangle, but we have this shape here that goes into one with 3 edges. So the only one that has the 3 edges. And we just select all these guys. Oops, that's the wrong one. There we go. And 4, look around, 5, good. And then we go to cut. Then we go into our UV shell. We select that and we unfold it. There we go, perfect. I'll move that out of the way. Then I'm going to select the faces here. And I'm going to select it, and I'll tell you more about that later. So I'm just selecting just the front faces. Normal based, move that off there. And then I'll select all these guys down here. And deselect these bottom ones. Normal based. then, oh, that's all right. Normally what I'd say is like, I thought it would look a little bit more distorted. I'd say cut this right here. And then, oops. UV shell, select this, and then unfold it. But it wasn't actually all that distorted. So I'm just going to say leave it the way that it was. And undo the cut. But normally, if it was like a big item, I might suggest moving it somewhere else. Or having the cut. All right, so anyways, let's keep going. We're on a roll. Let's select the faces for this. And go over here, go to normal based. Now I'm not done with those guys, but I'm just cutting them off so that they're separated, and then I'm going to get to them in a second. Let's make sure everything, there we go. Oops. So we have all those guys, all the 2 guys done. Normal based. All right. So now the last that we have here. Let's go UV shell and select that bottom piece. And then we'll just do normal based on that. Move that out of the way. And then finally, last, we have this. Okay. So this one, normal based, unfold. So I don't know if I like that so much. I think I'm going to go into face mode. And just select that outer part, because I don't like how it's moving up like that. I think it could be a little weird. And then I'll unfold that. There, I like that a lot better. Then this one, now it looks a lot more straight on. Remember that when you're UVing stuff and you're making a texture for it, if you go to draw something, the distortion can be a little bit weird when you're drawing something. If it's diagonally, imagine looking at it really, really close and seeing the pixels diagonally. It would look differently. Just like drawing things at a diagonal line has the stepping. Things look a little bit differently if you don't have the UVs just straight on their side. So now that we have everything set up, oh wait, that's right, we have, don't forget these guys. So here's our buttons. These guys we can do, I know what I'll do. I'm going to select just the edges, like that. And UV those. And I can do them both at the same time because they will be both separate shells. And then I select these guys. What's up with that? That's weird. I see what it is. Hmm. So I was missing those. And then that one, that one, that one, that one. That one, that one, that one. Now the one thing that's not very good about this geometry is the all the n-gons that we have going on. So see all these n-gons? If I go into face mode and I click over there, we have all these guys. That can be bad, but in this case, I don't think it's going to be too terribly bad. So we'll just leave that stuff there. So now our little... wait, what's that? Oh, there we go. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to make these guys on their side, like that. We're almost done. Save it. Now we need to do these guys. So these guys, I'll select. So it did a good selection right there, out of the box. And then unfold. That's pretty good. Oh, I know that's a little distorted up there. How about we'll do these separate edges here. Select those and cut those. Then go into the UV shell and then just normal based and unfold those guys. Here we go. Normal based and unfold that. Oh, I see why it looked like that. That's right. It's pretty small, but at least we have this thing that looked good. Now, if we wanted to, and the reason why we want this thing to look pretty good is because if we have these little letters on there, we want it to look pretty normal. So we'll do the same thing with this. Normal based, unfold. Cut. Unfold. Unfold. Okay, and then we have these guys. That's our last little things we're going to do. And the only thing about this is that we need to... We could splay this out by cutting here, 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 and here. And then cut. And watch this. Unfold. Oop, I didn't like that. I forgot to... Oh, I did this, which I always tell my students not to do. Unfold. Hey. That didn't work right. Let's try that again. Cut. Okay, that's a little strange. I'm going to save that. I don't know why that didn't work. Normal based, unfold. There we go. Just do the outside, and then I'll do these guys. Normal based, unfold. Huh, okay. One side, unfold. Okay, one side, normal based. Unfold. There we go. One side, normal based, unfold. There. Okay. We'll do one side, normal based, unfold. Over there, normal based, unfold. Normal based, unfold. There. Okay. Let's get these guys straight though. UV shell. UV shell. There. And then, okay, so now everything is looking the way it should. I wonder what that is. Hey, that's not supposed to look like that. Interesting. Oh, huh, that's very unusual. I don't think we booleaned that. So that's a bad example on my part. Go into object mode, face, select that guy. It's no biggie. In fact, I'd say just leave it. What I was gonna do was be nitpicky. No, I gotta change it. I made the mistake. I gotta fix it. So those guys really should be booleaned with everything else. So I didn't actually boolean them. I just combined them, I think. And then that we need to extract object mode. And those are extracted. Now notice when I extracted it that it put it inside of a group. So we want to ungroup that. There we go. And get rid of these little empty transforms. Ah, that often happens. If that happens, go back into assign existing material and Lambert 1. And the same for these guys. Lambert 1. Okay, so now that those guys are separate, let's combine these two guys. Delete our history on it. Select our TV. Select our little cubes. Save. And union those together. There we go. That's what it's supposed to look like. Okay. That's good. All right. Now let's go back and finish up what we were doing. So now that everything is all UV'd, let's select everything we have there. Go all the way down to arrange and layout and layout. And that's what we have. Now when we do layout, oh yeah, that was the other thing. I'm going to move this one guy off to the side. And I'll tell you why. I'm moving it off to the side because I'm going to give it a separate texture. And I'm going to open up transform and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees clockwise. And put this over here and I'm going to scale it up. So what this is doing is I'm going to make a separate texture for this guy for the screen, and I'm going to get some static and I'm going to put it on there, and the texture is going to be self-illuminated, meaning it's going to light up a little bit, and so that'll look pretty cool. when we have it in Unreal. That being the case, let's select all these other guys, go back and do layout again. Now when you're making a texture, I've said this before, it's important to know where everything is. So I'm going to move things around a little bit so I know what I have here. I'm going to, this guy doesn't need to be that big because it's just the base of the whole thing. This will have to be a little smaller. Actually, darn it. Okay. I'm going to select all the stuff and make it all smaller so I have the same textile density. Textile density. I was looking up that word and I realized I was saying textile, giving you guys the wrong word. There's no such word as textile, or except for textile, but it's not it. It's textile density. There we go. So when we make our texture, we want our texture to be we want to know exactly where all these pieces are. So these are the outside of our little dials. These are the inside of the little dials. And these are the volume control inside pieces. And you know, we could make these guys a little bigger if we wanted to. And those are the little handles of each of the dials. Oops. Ah. Going too fast. Right. And these are the little sides of the dials. All right. I am going to make these guys a little bigger so that we can see a little bit more. That is going to cause a bit of a discrepancy in the textile density, but it's not going to be a real big issue. The main thing is we just want to know exactly where everything is. Alright, so that is good. Now, in order to make the texture, I'm going to put that in the next video, so that'll be another 3-part video. This is the UV for our television, and let's do increment and save. And delete our history. We're good to go for this with our UVs. So those UVs look very good. Alright, on to the next video. Okay, so our next video on the television, we first have to export our UVs. So to export our UVs, we're in the UV editor, and we're going to export this because this is going to be one set of UVs, and we go to, I always forget, there we go, image, UV snapshot, and I'm going to, there we are. This is going to be screen, TV, screen, UV. Remember, don't put in the extension. Save 2048, PNG, and the bright green color. It's good to go. Export. Remember that when you export the UVs, you're going to see the, you'll get a good positive message here. I don't think you guys have seen this yet, except if you've taken character modeling. So I'll show you again what I did there. I selected a UV, a shell, and then I went to image, and then I went to UV snapshot, and then I gave it a name, and then I selected where it's going to go. Actually, I selected where it's going to go, and then gave it the name. So, but we have to make sure that there's no extension in that. So TV, screen, UV, save. Make sure that the size is 2048, and PNG is the file format. Green, all set. Apply and close. Yep, we're overwriting it. Then we're going to select these guys and do the same thing. UV snapshot. We're going to give it TV screen. This is just going to be TV UVs. PNG 2048, bright green color, apply and close, and it's good. Okay, now this is a fun part. We're going to save it. Now we load up Photoshop. And I often put my layers on the left side. I think putting it on the right side would work great for left-handed people. So my layers are over there. Now we're going to load up our UVs. So I open up where our UVs are set. Here I go to 240. Is that it? Yeah. Nope. This is where I exported them. I'm going to load up both of these. TV screen UV.png and TV UV.png. Okay, these are our two textures. And I'm going to save them already. So save as, and I'm going to put it into our TV. 2026. I'm going to go TV, and I'm going to save it as a PSD. Now, when you're making UVs for an object, you want to, and you're doing this in Maya, and you're using Photoshop, you should use a PSD. And a PSD is a typical Photoshop format extension. Okay, so we have those all set up. Now, if we look at, you can't really see it all that well, but if you zoom in, you can see a little bit of our UVs. So I'm going to create a new layer with this little button down here. I'm going to bring that down here, and I'm going to call this background. And I'm going to double click on this, and I'm going to call this UVs. And then I'm going to click another one, and I'm going to put that underneath that, and I'm going to call that texture. And that's the basic way to do a texture, is we have our UVs over it, our texture in the middle, and then our background color. The background color, I'm going to make that black. So I clicked on the background, I press Shift F5, and then I go to black. You can see our textures over there. I'm going to do the same thing for our TV UV screen. I'll click on this and say UVs, new layer, and I'm going to move it below it and call it background. I'm going to make a new one, and I'm going to call this texture. So the background, Shift F5, black, and then can't see the UVs. Oh, I know what it is. The reason why this is black, and my mistake, is that when you export a texture, it will not export anything that is outside of this this spot. So I need to redo that. Sorry about that. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to call this screen underscore and then apply and close and yes. And then I'm going to close the TV screen UVs. No, I don't need to do that. Yes, I do. I'll just redo that one. Then I go to File, Open, TV screen UV is going from TV References, Filco, there, TV screen UV. There we go. Then I change this to UVs. Click on that. I change that to background. Click on the plus sign again. I change this to texture. Click on this one. Shift F5, black. Now, here's the fun part. Oop, yeah. 240 there. TV screen UVs. We're going to overwrite that. So, one of the neat things that's with Photoshop is that you have blending options. So right-click on the UVs layer and go to blending options. And then it brings this up. And then we can do a stroke on everything in it and change the color to a bright green. We'll go over here and we'll do 255. Does bright green. And then we have that. And this shows our UVs. I'm going to make it a little smaller. So I'll do 3 pixels. And that is our screen. Another neat thing is we can right click on this, on the UVs. We can go down to copy layer style. Copy that. Go over to TV UVs. Go to our UVs there. Right click and paste layer style. And then we can paste that right there. So here are our UVs. So now what we do is we just paint our texture on that. But before we do that, I want to show you how to apply our texture first. There we go. So first we saved both of them. Then we go into Maya. Go over here. Go our object mode. Go into our texture. Turn this guy off. And now, save it. We're going to make our hypershade our materials. So I load this up and hold right mouse button down, go to create materials, Lambert, and then I call this screen texture, TXT. And then I hold the right mouse button down, create materials, down to Lambert. And I change this name in the property editor to TV underscore TXT. Enter. All right. Now, in color, so you can see, if I haven't gone over this, I don't remember if I have or not. This is the hypershade, which is where we make all of our materials. If you are rendering everything in Maya, you will, and you're rendering it and you're animating and all that kind of stuff, you'll want to do more complicated materials in hypershade. But since we're exporting all this stuff into Unreal, all we need is Lamberts, because nothing is exported except for transparency. I think that's exported. Yeah. But even then, we still have to fix it up in Unreal. So we have our two textures, we have our TV texture and our screen texture. So the TV one, we find color over here, and then and here's our nodes. There's the TV node. Oh, there are two nodes on top of each other. And also you can organize this as much as you want. Every single time you load it back up, it's going to be different. This is just like a desk. It doesn't get saved. So if you click on TV texture, we're going to go to color, and we're going to click on this little guy. This means we're going to add a node. And that little guy brings this up, create a render node. If we were, again, rendering in Maya only, all of these other guys might have some use for us. You can even put a movie inside of material. It's really cool. I've done it before. But we're only going to use file. So click on file. Now we add a file node to our texture. So there's our TV texture. Here's our file node. If we want to add our node to it, make sure that the file node is selected. And where it says image plane, we're going to find that texture. So we go up and we find where we've done our texture. And which one was this? Oh dear. Oh, it's the TV texture. TV. Open that up. And there's our TV texture. Let's do the screen one. So I click on this is our main node for it. And I click on the add a node on color. And then I click on file. And file is already selected. And we go to image name in the folder. And I go up. Oop. And then I find where the texture is, TV screen, and open. All right. So there's our TV screen and our TV texture. So now I apply them. Remember, you can apply as many materials on any object as you have faces. So I'm just going to select the screen. I'm going to deselect that. So control. All we have is a screen selected. So the screen is selected. I hold my right mouse button down, go all the way down to assign existing material, and go to text, a screen underscore txt. This is why we name objects, or name materials. Oh, damn it. I hate when that happens. There. You can make that not happen if you click on this little lock. So that one's set up, and then we're going to click on the rest of it. Now I can go here to our UV shell, or our UV editor, and I'm going to select everything except for that, deselect that, because I was in UV shell mode. Okay, let's try that again. There we go. Close this. Go into our hypershade. Nope, we don't need to even open up hypershade. Hold the right mouse button down, go to assign existing material, and go to TV text. All right. Now, object mode, press 6, and deselect, and here we go. So here's our texture. Now you'll notice a good example of texel density is that the outlines, or the UVs, are thicker on the TV as they compared to the screen. That's because there's a different texel density between them. Now we have to create our texture. So this is kind of fun. We're going to do a texture a little bit more detailed than we did for character modeling if you took it. So what we'll do is we're going to bring in our we're going to bring in an actual texture from the TV screen. So you can copy this one. This is the front of our screen. And then I'm going to paste that into our thing here, into our texture. I'm going to look for a static image. So I'll go to TV static. And I'm going to just get this image, although that looks kind of nice. Yeah, I'm going to go there. I'm going to copy that image. I'll go into Photoshop. I'll go back to the TV screen and paste that in. But I need to put that underneath our UVs. Then I can hold down Shift and Alt. Actually, just Alt. And that will make it bigger and keep the same ratio and pull it out from the middle. And then click OK, the check mark. And I gotta let my puppy dog out. I'll be right back. Okay, one of the things I forgot to mention, which is why your texture might not have shown up, was that you need to go to Windows, Settings, Preferences, and then down to Files, Projects, scroll down, Automatically Reload Updated Image Files. That makes it automatically change. So if you're frustrated about that, sorry about that, but I'll be sure to mention that. So here's our texture. And here's the thing. Oh, okay. It's probably. No, you probably didn't get to that yet, so you weren't frustrated yet. So I staved that off. So, but watch what happens if I press Control S after automatically reload. Control S, and it automatically loads up. So there we go. It's gonna look cool. Okay, so now to make the rest of it, we're gonna go to our TV. Now we need to get this guy here to go into this area. So to change that, oh yeah, here's a few things about Photoshop. Alt or spacebar, hold the spacebar down and left mouse button and you can pan. Alt, scroll button, you can scroll in and out. Here is our texture. I'm gonna hold down Control, and if you click right click on this, it'll show you all the layers that you can select. So I could select the background or the texture depending on where my mouse was. I can also hold down Control and I can move this around. So I'm gonna hold down Control and Alt, and notice how we have two different mouse pointers rather. We have black and white, and that means that if I click and hold, I'm going to copy it. So the reason for that is this one here, I right click with Control held down, and I go to texture. I'm going to move that up here. I'm going to press Control T, which is the thing called free transform. And then I'm going to grab that little corner guy, move this over here, Alt, middle mouse button, hold the space bar down, and pan. And then I'm going to get this thing so that it's looking pretty much where I want it. Then I hold down, notice how when I go outside of this, it will rotate it. That's a part of free transform. Okay, so there's some things I like about that, some things I don't. I don't like all these extra little pieces here. That doesn't look good. So basically, okay, then I'm gonna, here's another thing. I'll mention it in a second. If you hold down Control, you can grab one part of these guys and you can skew it and move it around a little more carefully. So I'm going to move this around here. Move this down a little. I'm going to move this one over a little. Out. I'm trying to get all of the orange outside of our texture right there. All right, and then click OK. And we'll work more on that later. And here's this texture over here is for the, this is for the bottom of that. And here is our dials. So with the dials, Control right click and click on it. Now here I would probably just do a marquee, press M, and a marquee around here, and around the dial in the back, and press Control X. That cuts that little piece out of that texture, and then Control V. So now I just have that one little texture right there. Now I'll hover over this area, hold down Control, right click, and select that. And do a marquee around here. And then Control X. Now remember, you can only cut from the parts that you're selecting. So if I had a part that was cutting nothing from it, it would give you an alert. Then I paste. So now I have an area over here that essentially has nothing that we're not going to use. So I'm going to deselect that. All right. So now we're getting close. These are not done, by the way. This is not done. Now I want to start on this area over here. So first I'll save it. And then I'm going to look at our textures that we have for this. So I'll go to TV references. And then I'm going to look at the top. Here's our top image. And here's our side image. So that's the orange one. This is our left side and our right side. So I'm going to select those, all three, and I held down Control to do that. And it loads these guys up. So now I press Control A on this side one and Control C, and I paste that. And this is the left side when looking at it, so it's going to go right over here. So I'm going to make it smaller, and this would be the underside of it, because that's the underside there. So it'd be upside down. And then I'm going to hold down Control, and I'm going to just grab these guys so that our texture goes all around the UVs. Dunk, dunk, like that. There. And I'll close that because we don't need that any longer. I'll select this side, Control A, Control C, go over here, Control V, and then I'm going to rotate that guy over here, and I'm going to put this guy right here. Alt, makes it small like that, rotate, hold down Control, and then I can just grab these guys individually. All right. And then, okay. Then I'm going to do the top. Control A, Control C, Control V. I'm going to rotate that around. I'm going to move it down here. Alt, grab this, and then I'm going to move it right around here. And then over here, a little out there. Control. And then bring this back. There. And I want those UVs to look nice and straight. Okay, so why are we taking all these pieces? Sometimes you can have the uncanny valley if you bring in an actual photograph, and sometimes it's a good start. What we're going to do here is we're going to do just kind of this is how a lot of textures can be done. They can be done with with some initial textures, and then you just modify them. If you're making this for a company, be sure that you own the photographs or they're licensed to you. You can get in trouble. Let's save these guys and let's close this and this. Now we're going to go in here, we're going to start fixing it up. So we have a whole bunch of layers. We need to get rid of these extra little elements to it. So I'm going to press M for the marquee, for the regular move tool. I'm going to hold down Control, hover over this, right mouse button, and layer 5 is that one. I'm going to press E for erase, and then we can increase the size of the erase tool with the brackets. So left bracket, right bracket. And then we can change the hardness of each of the tool. So right now it's very fuzzy. That could get rid of some stuff that we don't want to get rid of. So I'm just going to make the hardness all the way up to the top. And I'm just getting rid of the excess, just trimming off these excess pieces. And I have a Wacom, which is kind of easy to use, but you can do this all with a mouse. So I'm going to keep doing it with the Wacom here. So just trim this off. Excuse me. Then Control, right click, and select layer 4. And I'm going to do the same thing here. It's going to look really cool in a second. Sometimes it's difficult to make realistic textures. Control, right click, just completely, absolutely from scratch. So that's why a lot of times we will start with a photograph. And one game I worked on, Bruce Lee Quest of the Dragon, I actually went to some places and took pictures for the textures. So like went to an airport and took some pictures, a small one, and got some really awesome textures for the game. Go over here, Control, right click, and texture. I'm going to delete these guys. Actually, this one, I keep looking at that. This is an interesting thing. I'm going to select this guy here, and then watch what happens if I hold down Control. It does cut, and then I'm going to just drag that over right here. This is going to give me an idea of what I want that texture to look like. And then I'm going to press Control D, and that will deselect it, and back to E for erasing. And like I said in class today, you can use pretty much any tool, but Photoshop is is used quite a lot in the video games industry. You're going to have PSD files, and if you load up a PSD file and you mess somebody's artwork up by saving it, they're going to be kind of annoyed. All right, Control S to save, and that's the start of it. And let's look at Maya and see what it looks like. So see how we're starting to have this texture going? It's looking pretty cool. But it looks kind of, there's some elements that are pretty janky. Now we can get rid of that green on there if we go over here and we deselect or hide the UV layer. Control S, go back to Maya, and now we hide that the UV layer. So it's coming along. All right, next step. Let's finish up the texture. I'm going to turn on the UVs again, and I'll show you how to do some cloning. Okay. And to do something in a second, I'm going to get to the cloning. First, let's get to this little guy here. So let's look at what it looks like in Maya. Okay. Now, I actually want to change. Oh, darn. Darn. I can't change it because I textured it weird. No. Okay, so say you have a UV. I should show you how to do this. Say you have a UV that you don't particularly like. You want to change something about it. So in particular, I want to change these guys. There. This one, I'm going to change that UVing, and I'm going to go to our UV editor. Make sure that everything else stays the same. And then we're going to just change that one little element. So I UV'd that with a normal based. We're going to cut it and unfold it in just a second, because we don't want to have to redo all of our texture. We're just going to redo that one spot. And then go back down here, normal based, and then move it over here. Okay, so we have these guys. Let's unfold them by selecting an area. Let's do a hidden one under there. Select those two. Cut. UV shell. Select that. Unfold it. There we go. And let's make it lengthwise. Over here. Unfold that. Lengthwise. Select these guys. Make them smaller. Ooh. Smaller, bring it down here. There. Okay, so now that I did that, we can still go select all these guys, deselect that one, and re-export the TV. So I'm going to call this TV2. Apply and close. Go to Photoshop. File. Open. TV2. Open. Control A. Control C. Control C. Go over here. Now we don't want to press Control V. I mean, it's going to be the same size, but sometimes it can paste it in a different spot. We want to go to Paste Special, Paste in Place. And you can see it just added that new little thing down there. So Paste in Place, that's our new set of UVs. Let's go to UVs over here, right click, copy layer style, click on layer 6. All right, good. Phew. I thought I didn't unpause that. And then paste layer style. There we go. And then hide the old ones. Double click on the name, new UVs. All right, so now we have those guys there. So what this does is this enables us to have just the regular dials right over here. And then we can have the outside of the dial over here. So you can see we have this little alternating white and gray. Um, so we can't really exactly copy these and then move them over because it's all kind of rounded. I could hold that down and tech control T and rotate it like that, but it's still not necessarily best looking texture. Control T, we can make it wider. But what we do see is we could create a new texture out of this. So see how this is a little bit white on the outside, and then this has this alternating texture there. So what we could do is on our textures, or we can add a new texture here, just make sure it's below the UVs. We could go here, select a little area in the middle of nowhere, like that. We press B for the brush, hold down Alt, and we'll sample this color, and then we'll paint right over here. All right. Then we can go right underneath it, do a marquee about the same size underneath it, and B, and then sample this color. You'll notice when you click on it, it shows that color. And then we draw inside here. So wherever you have the marquee is where it's only going to draw within the marquee. So this one just has that little area there. I'm going to select this area here. And you notice I select a little bit less because this is a little wider. Then I'll hold down, let's see if this is right. Yeah, hold down Alt, Control, Alt, and then Shift, and press the down arrow. And what that's done is it has duplicated the selection that I had right there, and up arrow a couple times. Control, Alt, Shift, down, and then Control, up a few times. So now we are making a texture. Oop, we can do that too. And we don't have to keep going incessantly like that. We could now select this whole area here and do the same thing. And now it'll do it a lot faster. This is how a lot of textures are done. So the shift will move things further, you notice, and holding shift or not holding shift, it will, if you don't hold shift, it'll just move one texture down. So Control, Alt, Shift, and down arrow. Now if I want to move it, Alt is the thing that duplicates it. If I want to move it down, I just do Control and Shift, and then down arrow. Control, Alt, Shift, down. All right. Now let's bring that one up. So Control, Alt, Shift, and up arrow, and I'm just going to keep holding down Control, Alt, and up arrow. Zoom in a little. I want to get all the way to the top. Same thing. Doop, doop. All right. Now we have it all set up there. Now the reason, now it's not, I can press Control D and deselect it. We don't have it covering everything. However, if I go over here holding down Control and then press Control T, and then I can hold down just Control, I can stretch it out a little bit. And you won't notice it too much because it's, I mean, it's just a made texture. However, do not move it down. You'll get that. You don't want that. All right. And there. Okay. Now this is the edge on the top. I'll press Control S for save, and let's look at our object. So now, object mode, look at that. We have those neat little sides to our texture. Let's do some more. I was going to do some other stuff there, but that's nitpicky. So over here, let's Control, right click, select that guy, move this around a little. I'm going to make that a little bigger. And that was Control T, by the way. Layer 1, Control T. Make that a little bigger. There we go. Now these guys are, it's this little part here. There isn't really a whole lot going on there, but we could get a nice little gray color, and let's paint over there. Let's make the hardness all the way to the top, over there. Notice that we're going outside of the thing just a little bit, because if we don't, then it will, you'll see some edges to it. Right down there. So that's that. And then we have this silver, the little, this guy here. I'm gonna B and then Alt and select that bright color. And then I'm going to select, I'm just going to paint these guys. Put that over there. Paint this as white. This is a pretty quick texture. We'd probably want to do something a little fancier. We'll get to this back in just a second. Okay. So press Control S. Let's turn off our UVs and press Control S again, and let's see what we got. That looks pretty cool. It's getting there. All right. Go back to Photoshop. And then turn this on. Now, let's start doing some of the other stuff here. So this is the bottom of the whole thing. Doesn't really matter what color that is, but I'll make it orange. Control S. Let's look at Maya. Nice and orange under there. Then we'll go over here. And I'm going to select this one. This is the base of it. And then I'm just going to go around. I'm going to select all of it. Except I do notice how it's a little bit lighter over there. I'm going to put a new layer over this. And then I'm going to make this a little bigger. And I'm going to lower the hardness. I'm going to use my tablet, or my pen. Zoom out a little. Make a little bigger. Yeah?
This is some a candy cup.
It is. It's yogurt. Mmm, that looks delicious.
No, it's called a yogurt cup.
A yogurt cup. You know your yogurt cups. Alright, so now I'll go over here. So we have a lighter one there. Now if I paint underneath it, oh, I want a darker color. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Now if I get rid of the UVs, you'll see
What are you doing?
Well, I'm making a video for these nice students. It's pretty cool, huh? You want to come up and see?
Yeah.
Alright. Now, don't press any buttons because we might get some strange effects. Alright. Say hello to all the students. Say hello, students.
Hello, students.
Alright. So now we have the colors there. That looks good. Alright, so we're saving that, and there's the base to our television. That's saved. Let's go into Maya, and there's our neato base.
What does this say?
Ceci n'est pas un pipe. That's a joke on a Magritte painting. I did that one a long time ago.
Is that
All right. Is that what? It's in French. Okay. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we need to make sure that we have a nice color for this. I'm going to find a place for this guy to go. And then I'm going to pause it and I'll be right back. All right. So now the clone command. Well, before we do that, we're going to actually select a color here. So Alt, left mouse button to sample that. We're in the brush. And then I'm going to paint all along here. And then I'm going to make the hardness up higher, and so I can get it all added. I don't want to cover up the nice texture I did there. Make that smaller. Okay. Okay, we're getting there. Save, turn off the UVs, and let's see what it looks like. Oop, did I do it? Turn off the UVs and save. There. Alright, it's coming along. So, this isn't going to look the best, but we are going to press B, and then, oh no, we're going to do some, B, and then click right there, make it a little larger. We're going to go to hardness and lower it all the way down, make it a little bigger, and then just draw a little over here. This is going to get a little bit more of that little highlight color. And this is going to block a little bit of the jankiness in there. All right. And down here, let's do the same thing. smaller. Ooh, I think food is ready. I'm very hungry. And then there. Remember, this isn't a, you know, most amazing texture in the world, but it's a start of how to make textures.
Daddy!
Yeah. Is there food ready?
Dinner is that ready?
Wonderful. Thank you for letting me know.
Dinner was ready.
It's no longer ready.
And I'm gonna,
Control S. Oh, let's turn this off.
And
Control S. So now you can see it. It looks better. This is all I'm looking for, but we're going to do a little bit more. I'll be right there. 1 second. And now we can see, you can see that there's a little bit of a seam.
look
To
at my
not
big
have that
shoes.
seam, we need something like Substance Painter.
Look at my big shoes.
I love your big shoes. Whoa! Those look like my shoes. And I'm going to eat food and I'll be right back. All right, let's finish this up. This is taking a pretty long time. But that's all right. It happens. Okay, so our UVs are going over here. We now need to have this area over here be this color. So I'm selecting this color here, and then I'm painting with the brush a color on top. And I'm trying to get it to be somewhat close. I have a darker color. You can also change the opacity. So if I press 2, you can see it goes down to 20. If I press 1, it goes down to 10. If I press 1, 2, it goes to 12. So then I can draw, try 2, try 3, make it a little bigger. And I'm going to try copying that. I'll go back to 0, which is 100. And I'll do this one. Oop. I have to make sure I don't get in there. Alright, I don't have to worry about it because I'm painting on a different layer. Alright. Now, I'll save. You'll see a... Why is it not moving? There we go. You'll see a seam between here and here because there's a different color from this location and this location. If we have a similar color, then you won't see much of a seam. Alright, so save that. Go back to Maya. So there isn't much of a seam there because of that I made the colors very similar. I may also go in here and smooth this out. Also, I'll select that color and I'll make that color match over here. So select this one, make that match here. There we go. That's matching better over there. Now let's just get the top. And also, if I want to not mess with this texture that's over here, I can put another texture over it, and then I won't run the risk of messing with that. So I'm going to take this color, and I'm going to bring that over here. And oh my gosh, my dogs are very demanding today. That's a little better. All right. I'm going to do the other side. All right, Hildegard. I have a little bell that they ring. All right, so no big seams. And I'll come back and I'll fix that stuff up so it looks a little bit less janky. Hopefully this should be pretty interesting insight into how textures are made. Okay, let's get this finished. So what I'll do is I'll select this color, and I'm going to do a totally new layer, and this layer I'll do 50%. I'll do this color. That looks pretty jank, but it's pretty simple. All right, that's better. Okay. All right. Right. Okay, so that's good for the outside. Now we need to get the front. So to get the front, we want this little Filco thing to stay there, but we also want to remove all the excess stuff. We also want to make a little bit of this inside area here. So I'm going to make a new layer for that. And I'm just going to do this with the hardness up here. Like that. Save that. Oop. Save that. See what it looks like. We can also turn off and use flat lighting. This will show us clearly what we're looking at with no lighting whatsoever. And then we want to get rid of this extra stuff here. So this is where we're going to use the cloning. Cloning is pretty neat. You can take, if you don't know what it is, it's super handy. Well, even if you know what it is, it's super handy. So we'll take, you press S for clone, you hold down Alt in order to sample an area, and then you can draw from that, that source to a new location. So we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to take this kind of dirty texture and we're going to draw it over here. So we're taking that dirty texture and we're moving it so that we can clear out all this extra stuff. Just like that. So we're essentially kind of erasing everything that is not useful. So I got rid of that. I'll save that. And now you can see that we only have our little dials there. And now I need to get rid of these guys. And notice also if I do if I sample this area and then I get closer to where the sampling is, it will start drawing the sample area. So you have to make sure that you lift up and then go back and draw more. So that draw from the original location. Now I can also do an Alt sample there, and then I can just draw this area really easily to get rid of that. And now we've gotten rid of both dials. Go back here, and that's looking better. And the only other thing we need to fix is let's see now. An important thing about sampling, if we were to use cloning, if we use this like cloning all layers, we'll get the UV layer too, and we don't want that. So what we can do is we can have the sampling source be all the layers and below, and now we're not going to use the green layers. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to start just cloning over in order to get rid of this inner area. Now I don't know what people do in big companies now that we have AI. I bet that it's probably some companies are using AI in order to create some textures. I wouldn't be surprised at that. Oop. Oh, look at that. There we go. Ah. There. All right. Oops. Okay, that looks a little janky, but that's okay. We're not going for a great work of art right now. All right. Looking better. Now we need is the dials. I mean, those look kind of good to begin with. just going to grab these and cut that and put that in there. Make a little smaller. There. The same thing for this one. Oop. Cut that, paste it, make it a little smaller. And then, in order to make it fit, wait a second. What's going on here? Oh, there we are. Whew. That's crazy. I'm going to get rid of this middle section. And I'll make a new layer. This part over here. Where did we make that go? Oh, I see. Yes, that's right. No, I don't remember where I went. So if I can't remember where something went, oh, okay, there we go. What about these guys? What did I do with that? Oh, I put them in there. Okay. I don't even see them. Oops, darn it. Okay, I see. Alright, I'm just going to do something very simple on this because I don't want to waste everybody's time. And I'm just going to go here. And move the hardness down. There. And then over here. Make it a little bit gray. And over here on the outside, I'm going to make it a little bit gray right out here. So lots of places that I've worked at, we've had the Wacom tablets that have been on the desk that don't have a monitor inside of it. But I certainly like them when you have them with. Okay, that doesn't look so good. With the monitor inside, it's so much. It's a total different experience. I want to make some kind of transition from here to the little new texture that we made. All right. There, good enough. All right. So that is essentially what we're going to do with the texture. Now, let's save that out. Go over here, take a look. Good enough. There's our texture. And now the next thing we're going to do is we save this as a JPEG. And we'll call it TVTXT. And then we'll save this one as TV screen TXT. Oops. Forgot to do something. Recent. All right. No. There we go. Remove the UVs. Save it as a JPEG. Go back here, and then we're going to change the texture from the Photoshop texture TV screen to the regular texture, the JPEG. From the PSD to the JPEG. There. Okay. Select our object, delete our history, and then in the next video we're going to export it into Unreal. Okay, now on to the final step of this whole thing. We are going to export this thing into Unreal. So the first thing we're going to do is, let's see here, we're going to get a reference object. And I have a reference object in the content section. You know, you can do the actual size, but I find that actually having a reference character kind of is a little bit better because you're actually able to see the whole thing. So I'm going to get that reference character, I'm going to import it. Go to import, and then download. And what is it? Mycene? No, FBX, I think. Okay, where did it go to? There we go. Let's just drag it in. Close that. Drag him in. Okay, so we can see he's pretty small. So the television would have been gigantic. So we're going to select the TV and we're going to just scale that thing down so that it looks a little bit normal to the scene. I'm going to put the base of it. So I'm going to change the center point so it's right at the bottom. I'm going to move the center point, or move the object to be on the ground. I'm going to show the grid. I think the grid is probably under his feet. There we go. And I think it'd be about that big. There we go. Now, when you're exporting something into Unreal, you want it to be at 000. So I use X to snap it to the 000 point. We freeze the transformation so everything's frozen right there. And when we import it, we're going to increase the size by 100 because we want to be able to see everything in this grid. It looks normal. All right. Then we're going to change the name to retro_TV. We're going to merge our verts. We're going to go back into object mode. We're going to delete the history and save it. And then we're going to go to File, Export Selection, and we're going to change it to an FBX. And let's make sure all the settings are right. Smoothing groups, yep, that's good. Everything else, good. We don't need anything else there. FBX, and we're going to call it Retro TV. Make sure you save it to a place that you recognize. Now let's load up Unreal. And if you don't have a test, let's create a test. So we're going to create a new one. Let's put this in, let's put it in desktop. And we're going to call it test. Nope. Okay, we're going to cancel that. We're just going to leave it right there, and we're going to call it Unreal Test. We're going to create a new one. There we go. Much better. Blueprint. Desktop. Blank. No, we want first person. Let's do first person. Blueprint. Games. Unreal. My Project 3. Retro TV. There we go. And then create. And we'll let it do its thing. So it's creating the project, and then it will load it up. I'll pause it while it is taking time to load up. There we go. All right, here we go. We have Unreal open. We're going to go over this a lot more later, so don't worry. And let's bring in our object. So first we open up the content drawer. Just going to drag this right in. I find that dragging it in works a whole lot better than actually importing. I don't know why. So I click and hold on the Retro TV FBX and drag it in. It asks us a few questions, hopefully. Oh, there we go. And look over here, import content. It should be offset uniform scale 100 and import. All right, there we go. And it imported. You can see that's unusual. Don't know what that's about. So we can see here's our texture. Everything was imported. We drag this guy over here. Let's drag him over there. And oops, what's that about? Why did it change the texture of the thing? I don't want it to do that. That's very strange. All right, let's drag this guy right over here. So here's our TV, and we have all the textures in there, looking pretty cool. Let's look at what the materials look like. And like I said, we'll go into that later. But we do have materials here. There's material 1, screen texture. There we go. Material. Oh, we have 2 materials over there. That's strange. I think this is good enough. We'll worry about the rest of it later. But there we go. So there's the whole workflow, working from creating the object to UVing the object and importing it into Unreal. And yeah, that's it. I hope that was useful. All right, see you in class. Thanks for watching.